The sun hung low over Aunt Lydia's sprawling backyard that afternoon, casting long shadows across the picnic tables laden with potato salad and grilled burgers. I could smell the charcoal smoke mingling with the faint sweetness of blooming hydrangeas along the fence. It was supposed to be one of those perfect family reunions, the kind where everyone pretends the years haven't chipped away at old bonds. I was Emily, 34, juggling a diaper bag on one shoulder and my twins, Mia and Noah, in their double stroller. They just turned 2, all chubby cheeks and endless curiosity, grabbing at everything in sight. My husband, Mark, was off chatting with my cousins near the grill, his laughter carrying over the hum of conversations. We'd driven 3 hours for this, packing the car with toys and snacks, excited to show off the kids to the extended family I hadn't seen since before the pandemic. Mom was the center of it all, as always. At 62, she still moved with that effortless grace, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a neat bun, directing uncles to set up more chairs and fussing over the dessert table. She'd organized the whole thing, sending out those cheerful group texts weeks in advance. "Can't wait to see everyone. Bring your appetites." I spotted her across the lawn, hugging my sister Sarah's kids, her grandbabies, as she called them with that special lilt in her voice. Sarah was there with her husband, their 3 little ones running wild, and Mom's face lit up every time one of them toddled over. It warmed me to see it, even if a tiny pang hit my chest. Mia let out a squeal from the stroller, reaching for a balloon tied to a chair, and I knelt down to untangle it for her, smiling as Noah clapped his hands in delight. We settled into the rhythm of the day pretty quickly. I pushed the stroller over to where my aunts were gathered, cooing over the twins. "Oh, Emily, they're just precious," Aunt Carol said, pinching Mia's cheek gently. "Look at those eyes. Definitely got your dad's side." I laughed it off, but something in her tone felt a bit forced, like she was reciting lines from a script. Mark joined us soon after, scooping Noah up and bouncing him on his knee, making the baby giggle. The conversations flowed. Work updates, vacation stories, the usual small talk that masks how little we really know each other anymore. I caught glimpses of Mom weaving through the crowd, her smile wide but her eyes darting, like she was checking off a mental list. As the afternoon wore on, the kids started getting fussy from the heat, so I wheeled them into the shade under the big oak tree. Mark stayed back with my brother, Tom, debating some sports game, their voices rising in friendly argument. I sat on a blanket, feeding Mia a pouch of applesauce, while Noah played with a toy truck in the grass. That's when Mom approached, her steps light but purposeful. She knelt down beside us, her floral dress pooling around her knees, and reached out to stroke Noah's hair. "My little angels," she murmured, her voice soft and affectionate. But then her gaze shifted to me, and for a split second, something flickered in her eyes. Regret? Annoyance? It was gone before I could pin it down. We chatted about nothing much, the drive up, how the twins were sleeping through the night now. She asked about my job at the marketing firm, nodding along as I talked about a recent project. It felt normal, comfortable even. But as she leaned in closer to adjust me a sun hat, her lips brushed near my ear and she whispered, so quietly I almost thought I'd imagined it, "You've ruined our perfect day." The words hung there, sharp and unexpected, like a needle prick in the midst of a hug. I froze, applesauce spoon midway to Mia's mouth. Mom pulled back, her smile still plastered on, but her eyes avoided mine as she stood up and smoothed her dress. "I'll go check on the cake," she said brightly, as if nothing had happened, and walked away toward the house. My heart pounded in my chest, the backyard noise fading into a distant buzz. Ruined? What did that mean? The twins? Me being here? I glanced around, seeing the family laughing, clinking glasses, but suddenly it all felt off, like a photo with one corner slightly askew. Mia whined, reaching for more food, and I mechanically fed her, my mind racing. Had I misheard? No, the whisper echoed clear in my head. And in that moment, as the sun dipped lower, I realized I couldn't shake it off. Something was deeply wrong, and pretending otherwise wasn't an option anymore. The rest of the reunion blurred into a haze after that whisper. I forced smiles through the group photos, nodded along to stories about Uncle Ray's fishing trips, but inside, my mind spun like a wheel caught in mud. Mark noticed something was off when we piled into the car for the drive home, the twins dozing in their car seats. You okay, Em? You look like you saw a ghost, he said, glancing over as he merged onto the highway. I shrugged it off, mumbling about the heat getting to me, but the words echoed louder with every mile. You've ruined our perfect day. What perfect day? The one where everyone fawned over Sarah's kids while mine got polite nods? By the time we pulled into our driveway that evening, the sky bruised purple with dusk. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I told Mark everything as we unpacked, his face shifting from confusion to concern. Maybe you misheard, he suggested gently, but even he didn't sound convinced. That night, sleep evaded me. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, my thoughts drifting back to how it all started, or at least, how I'd learned to ignore the cracks. It was 3 years ago, right after Mark and I got married. We'd eloped in a quiet ceremony at the courthouse, just us and a couple of friends, because Mom had been so against it from the start. He's not right for you, Emily, she'd said over coffee one morning in her kitchen, the aroma of fresh-baked muffins filling the air. I was 31 then, finally feeling like I'd found my footing after a string of bad relationships. Mark was steady, a software engineer with a kind smile and a way of making me laugh even on rough days. But Mom pursed her lips, stirring her mug endlessly. You deserve someone who fits better with the family. I brushed it off as her being overprotective, the way she'd always been since Dad left when I was 10. She raised Sarah, Tom, and me on her own, working 2 jobs, and I owed her everything. So I smiled, hugged her, and promised we'd have a big party later. But the party never happened. Instead, tension simmered. I remembered the first Christmas after the wedding, gathered around Mom's living room tree, lights twinkling against the frost-laced windows. Sarah was pregnant with her second, and Mom couldn't stop gushing, her hands on Sarah's belly, eyes misty. Another grandbaby! This house is going to be so full of joy. Mark and I exchanged glances, our own news bubbling up. I was 8 weeks along with the twins, but we wanted to wait until the first trimester passed. When we finally announced it over dessert, the room went quiet for a beat too long. Mom's smile came, but it was tight, like a rubber band stretched thin. Twins! Oh, that's ambitious, she said, slicing into the pie with more force than necessary. Tom chuckled, breaking the awkwardness, but later, as we cleared plates in the kitchen, I overheard her whispering to Aunt Lydia. Emily always has to make things complicated. It stung, but I swallowed it, telling myself she was just worried about the risks of a multiple pregnancy. Life rolled on, and the twins arrived healthy after a grueling delivery. Mia first, then Noah, their cries filling the hospital room like a symphony. Mark was there, holding my hand, tears in his eyes. We called Mom from recovery, and she visited the next day, bringing a bouquet of lilies that made the sterile space smell like spring. She held them briefly, cooing softly, but her visits tapered off quickly. Work's busy, she'd say on the phone, her voice distant over the line. Meanwhile, Sarah's kids got weekly playdates at Mom's, photos flooding our family chat, ice cream outings, park adventures. I'd scroll through them late at night, nursing the babies, a quiet ache building. Why doesn't she come more? I asked Mark once, as we rocked the twins to sleep in their nursery, the mobile spinning stars above their cribs. He kissed my forehead. Give her time. Twins are a handful, she's probably just overwhelmed. But time didn't fix it. Last summer, we planned a family barbecue at our place, the backyard strung with lights, burgers sizzling on the grill. Everyone came except Mom, who called last minute with a headache. Sorry, dear, next time, she said, but her tone was clipped. I pushed it down, focusing on the laughter, the kids splashing in the kiddie pool. Yet doubts crept in, like shadows lengthening at day's end. And now, that whisper at the reunion, it was the draft I'd felt but ignored, chilling the room. The next morning after the reunion, I couldn't shake it. While Mark took the twins to the park, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, scrolling through old family photos on my phone. That's when I found it. A text thread from Mom to Sarah, accidentally forwarded to me months ago. I dismissed it then as a mix-up, but rereading it now sent a shiver down my spine. Can't wait for the grandkids to visit this weekend. Finally some quality time without the chaos. Chaos! My twins. The message was dated right after one of those playdates with Sarah's kids. It wasn't proof, but it sharpened the ache into something pointed, a suspicion I couldn't bury anymore. I closed the laptop, heart racing, the house too quiet around me. Outside, leaves rustled in the wind, but inside, the air grew thick, heavy with unspoken truths pressing down, waiting to break through. That text message haunted me for days, a digital ghost I couldn't delete. Without the chaos. My twins' chaos. I stared at it on my phone screen in the quiet of our living room, the afternoon light filtering through the curtains while Mia and Noah napped upstairs. Mark was at work, leaving me alone with my swirling thoughts. I decided I couldn't let it fester anymore. The breadcrumb was there, leading somewhere darker, and I had to follow it. I grabbed my keys and drove to Mom's house unannounced, the 20-minute trip feeling like an eternity. My hands gripped the wheel tightly, knuckles white, as I rehearsed what I'd say. Not an accusation, not yet, just questions. But deep down, I knew this was the unraveling. When I pulled up to her neat colonial home, the one she'd kept spotless since Dad left, her car was in the driveway. I knocked, heart thumping, and she opened the door with a surprised smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Emily? What a nice surprise. Come in, I was just making tea." The kitchen smelled of chamomile and lemon cleaner, everything in its place as always. We sat at the table, mugs steaming between us, and I small-talked for a minute about the weather, the twins' latest milestones. But my phone burned in my pocket. Finally, I pulled it out and slid it across the table, the message open. "Mom, what did this mean?" Without the chaos. Her face paled slightly, but she recovered quickly, waving a hand dismissively. "Oh, that? Just a silly mix-up. I meant the traffic or something. Sarah's drive is always hectic." But her voice wavered, and she wouldn't meet my gaze, fiddling with her spoon instead. I pressed gently. "It was right after one of her visits. And at the reunion, you whispered that I'd ruin the day." The words hung heavy in the air, and for the first time, I saw her facade crack, a flicker of something raw, almost defiant. She set her mug down with a clink. "Emily, you're reading too much into things. Let's not make a mountain out of a molehill." But I wasn't backing down. Not this time. I stood up, pacing the linoleum floor I'd helped her pick out years ago. "No, Mom. It's been building. The way you light up for Sarah's kids but barely visit mine. The comments about Mark not fitting in. The elopement you hated. Tell me the truth. What have I done to ruin things for you?" She sighed, long and weary, and leaned back in her chair, her shoulders slumping. The boldness came then, not in anger, but in a quiet confession that sliced deeper than any shout. "Fine. You want the truth. It's not you exactly. It's everything you represent." Her eyes finally met mine, steely now. "After your father left, I rebuilt this family. Sarah and Tom, they follow the path. Good jobs, stable marriages, kids that fit the picture. But you? Always the rebel. Eloping with Mark, who's different. And twins. It was too much, too soon. Every time I see them, I'm reminded of the mess your father left behind. Multiples run in his side, you know. It's like he's still here, mocking me through them." The words landed like a punch, knocking the air from my lungs. Undeniable proof, straight from her lips. My children, my life, were chaos to her because they echoed a past she despised. Tears stung my eyes, but anger surged hotter. "Mocking you? Mom, they're babies. Innocent, loving. And Mark, he's the best thing that's happened to me. You've been punishing us for your old hurts." My voice rose, steady and clear, reclaiming the space I'd shrunk from for years. She stood too, her chair scraping back, face flushed. "I didn't mean to hurt you, but yes, it's hard. The reunion was supposed to be perfect. Sarah's family shining, everyone admiring. But you brought them. It shifted the focus, made it complicated. The showdown unfolded there in that sunlit kitchen, not with screams but with piercing truths we couldn't retract. Complicated? That's what family is, Mom. Messy real. You favored Sarah because she mirrors your ideal, but you've shut me out. No more." I felt my passivity shatter, replaced by a fierce resolve. My counter-move came swift. I turned toward the door, pausing only to say, "Until you can love all of us equally, don't expect to see the twins. Or me." Her eyes widened, the boldness crumbling into desperation. "Emily, wait, you can't." But I could, and I did, walking out with my head high, the door clicking shut behind me like a final punctuation. The drive home was a blur of tears and liberation. When I got back, Mark was there, the twins babbling in their high chairs with mashed bananas smeared everywhere. I told him everything, collapsing into his arms as he held me tight. "You did the right thing," he murmured, kissing my forehead. That evening, we sat on the porch as the sun set, watching Mia and Noah chase fireflies in the yard, their laughter pure, untainted. It was a quiet victory, small and human, reclaiming our family's joy without the shadow of conditional love. Mom called later, her voice broken, apologizing in fragments, but I let it go to voicemail. Healing would take time on my terms. In the weeks that followed, boundaries held firm. Sarah reached out, confused at first, then understanding as I shared bits of the story. Tom, too, bridging the gaps Mom had widened. The twins thrived, oblivious, their world full of playdates and cuddles from us. I started journaling it all, turning pain into words, and eventually shared snippets online. Anonymous at first, then braver. The responses poured in, stories of similar heartaches, and it built a community I hadn't expected. If this tale of whispers turned to roars resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life twists that remind us family isn't always blood. It's the bonds we choose to nurture. In the end, after the storm's rage, silence settles like fresh snow, blanketing old wounds. Roots dig deeper into soil they've claimed as their own, and memory, it softens, becoming a place not to hide, but to stand tall and breathe free.